Hello humanoids, welcome to Halfling Hobbies. I'm Halfling Hannah, and if you have an upcoming one-shot, two-shot, mini-adventure, or side quest that you're trying to plan and you just can't quite get it started, this video is for you. This is my rather unique take on how I make and plan all of my adventures. This is going to be a 5-step quick guide to get you going. So, here we go. Alright humanoids, before we get started with creating your amazing adventure, pre-step is to make a nice beverage, whether it's tea, in my case it's coffee. I find that it's way easier to be creative when you are comfy and have something to sip. So, go make yourself a cup of tea. I'll wait. Step number 1 is a bit unconventional, and I've found that I'm kind of the odd person out when it comes to creating adventures because I don't start with the story because that's way too broad. There's too much there. What I start with is the monster. So I pour through my monster manuals, the supplements, weird stuff on Pinterest and online, and I find the monster first. And there are several reasons for this. Number 1, you have lore already there that can jumpstart your imagination. Number 2, I find if you have a monster that you want to focus on, the story becomes a whole lot easier because it's about that monster, how they were created, how it happened, and why they're in this area to begin with. So it becomes far easier to write your story if you have your monster. Some of my favorite monsters for side quests are 1, the Bone Claw, we'll look at an example of that later, and number 2, the Carrionet from Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, a new supplement that has come out that I find really enjoyable and really good for helping me write these little adventures. So your first step is to find your monster, or even a monster concept. So perhaps it's the concept of lycanthropy. Said it right. Or perhaps it's the concept of ghosts or hauntings, or maybe even a zombie apocalypse. Any of that is fine, but I want you to have that in mind before we move on to step number 2. So, if you're needing some more inspiration for monsters that are perfect for side quests, I have a video for you. Go watch that one real quick, and then come back to this and get your monster. Get your monster. Alright, now that we have our monster, it's time for step number 2, and this is to write that backstory around the monster. So in the example of a bone claw happens when becoming a lich goes wrong and creates this monster. So who is the person that was trying to become a lich? Why did they fail? What area are they in? Where did the bone claw spawn at? And who is now its master? You need to think through the lore of whatever monster that you're going to use and start to put a story together. I find that this is way easier than coming up with a story first because you have something concrete to go off of. You have the monster lore. So take that lore and extrapolate on it and create a whole story around it. This is going to be the backstory and the lore of your adventure. Way easier than coming up with that first, right? Like there's nowhere to start when you're just trying to come up with a story. Monster, then story. I'm telling you, works like a charm. Number 3, now that you have a monster and you have a compelling story around said monster, this is the point where your party comes in. So everything up until this point is pre-party, pre-adventure, right? Pre-party. All of that before is pre-adventure. Now you're getting to the point where the party is going to start getting involved. So you want to write out your plot. What is the purpose of the party in this case? Are they trying to stop the monster? Are they trying to help someone? Are they trying to find something? Whatever that is, you need to have that very clearly in mind. How are they going to go about this? What are the different steps that are going to be involved in this? And what is the end? What is the end of your adventure, the end goal of all of this? If you have no idea where to start with a plot, then I highly suggest my plot planner down in the description below. Simply download that and go through the different steps that are on there, and you will be planning your plot like a pro. Speaking of a pro plot planner, It's time to introduce today's sponsor, the fabulous Black Pages series. This series is absolutely incredible. It's about a hero who can make herself fictional and jump into stories, be they books, TV shows, movies, and all about the people who are trying to stop her from doing it as she's, kind of destroying time and space. It is absolutely incredible, and I highly recommend it. The 4th book in this series is coming out on August 17th, and you can pre-order it right now for just 99 cents. And as if that wasn't great enough, the author, Danny Bell, will be matching all of those pre-order amounts for Storm Chaser and donating 100% of it to 826LA, an incredible charity that helps kids with after-school programs. So if you are feeling generous today, please go and donate 99 cents to 826LA and get yourself an incredible book. Highly recommend. Trust me on this one, you're gonna want the 4th one. Just go pre-order it right now. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. You can also get the audiobook. So there's audiobooks if you want those too, which are also great. So, Danny Bell, you're amazing. Thank you. So that's all we're gonna talk about as far as planning the plot, because that is going to take a lot of time. Honestly, that needs to be its own video series, which I am planning to make kind of like a masterclass series on creating plots for D&D, villains, plot twists, different genres, all that good stuff. And I'm going to be joined by best-selling author Danny Bell to make those videos, which I'm super excited about. So watch for those in the future. Now we're gonna move on to step number 4 for writing your little mini adventures or one-shots. All right, you've got your monster, you've got your story, you've got your plot. Now you need to start getting the specifics. You don't want to get super distracted by maps and NPCs and all that stuff until this point, because now you know exactly what you need and what you don't. So looking through your story, looking through your plot, decide I need these maps, I need these NPCs, and I need to plan out fully these areas. All right, so now's the point where you're gonna look for maps. If you're a map maker, awesome. Now you can start making them. If you're not, like me, you can go to 2minutetabletop.com. They've got a ton of free options there, as well as very cheap maps. Highly, highly recommend those. I love the aesthetics of them. They have lots of stuff for free, and, buy the guy a coffee, because he does a fantastic job. So 2-Minute Tabletop is my recommendation for maps. Music is another one. At this point, you've got a feel for what the story is going to be like, so if you want some music, you can head on over to Tabletop Audio. That's my recommendation there. They got a lot of free stuff that you can do loops on, or YouTube videos. If you know the type of music that you want, there's lots of 2-hour YouTube videos. Start saving some YouTube videos for some music, whatever you want to do there. Also, if you're over the top like I am and you like to mix your own soundtracks, then my recommendation for that is an app called DMDJ. I don't know if they have Android or not, but I know that they have Apple, and it's $4.99 and totally worth it because it's super cool. So if you like mixing audio and stuff, that's the app that I recommend. Super easy for beginners to get into because trust me, I'm not an audio person by any means, but I love that app. Really fun. Also in this step, you're going to want to think about any handouts that you might give. Whether you're an online game or a physical game, there are handouts that help your players get involved in the story and really explain things better than you can just saying something, such as letters or books or whatever else. At this point is where you're going to want to start creating those. And my recommendation for that is Canva. I've talked about Canva before in creating resources. I have a video there if you want to see that. But I love Canva. I make the creepiest letters and blood-soaked things and whatnot using Canva. Highly recommend. Then finally, number 5, this is where you're going to plan your encounters and your boss battle if you have one. This I really like to leave to the end because I'm going to want this encounter to happen on a map, right? So I want to either make that map I don't make maps. I don't know why I said that. I want to buy my map ahead of time so that I know exactly what's on it so that I can plan my encounter accordingly. So now is where you're going to really plan out all the encounters that you want to have in this, and especially your end boss fight. You're going to think through that. Again, that's going to be a part of that like masterclass series when we're talking about villains and epic end battles. That deserves its own video. And then final touches, I like to call them. This is the point where you're going back through all of your hard work and you're just adding some really just like touches to it that just make it over the top, such as hints or traps. Items, perhaps you want some additional artwork or some like custom artwork if you've thought through this enough ahead of time to be able to do that, which I never do. Perhaps you want some custom maps instead of just buying them. You want to make them, create some custom little maps. Perhaps you want terrain and miniatures. Now's the point where you do all of that final touches stuff, and I guarantee you have just created an amazing adventure. This is my 5-step process that is foolproof, that I use all the time. I really hope that it gives your game advantage. And until next time, my friends, Halfling Hannah here, signing out. Also, look at all these beautiful patrons. All these people sponsored this video. Aren't you grateful for them? You should be. They're amazing. And you could be one too. Head on over to Patreon and support Halfling Hobbies.